This is Steve Diggle from the Buzzcocks. We're going to be in Colombia on the 20th of May. Get down to this amazing show. We're all going to have a great time together. And I'm here now on Moses TV.
Buzzcocks es una de las agrupaciones esenciales del punk. Conformada hace 5 décadas en Inglaterra, logró acaparar la atención con sus melodías pegajosas, intensas guitarras y letras mordaces que enamoraron a una generación que quería cambios en la sociedad y la cultura de finales de los años 70. Ahora, finalmente Buzzcocks llega a nuestro país con un show programado para este 20 de mayo en el tradicional barrio chapinero de Bogotá, en lo que apunta a ser una noche histórica para quienes amamos las canciones con adrenalina. Es por eso que el día de hoy quiero invitarles a que vean esta entrevista que realicé con Steve Diggle, su guitarrista y cantante desde los primeros días, donde nos cuenta acerca de lo que fue los orígenes del punk, la revolución musical que se gestó en su ciudad, Manchester, la influencia de la banda en grupos que vinieron posteriormente como Green Day, y en un momento muy emotivo nos relata lo que fue girar junto a Nirvana en lo que vendrían a ser los últimos conciertos para el difunto Kurt Cobain. Los invito así a que me acompañen durante los siguientes minutos. Quiero invitarlos a que se suscriban al canal de Alejandrosis, activen las notificaciones y si les gusta este video, por favor compártanlo. Un like también siempre ayuda bastante. Buzzcocks viene realizando una serie de presentaciones en este 2025. Al momento de realizar la presente entrevista, estaba cerrando una gira por los Estados Unidos. Ya están listos para realizar 10 fechas por Latinoamérica, donde está incluido Colombia, y posteriormente irá al Reino Unido con algunas presentaciones también en Dinamarca e Irlanda. Es increíble saber que este grupo tarde pero llega a nuestro país, ya que por aquí muy pocas bandas del punk clásico inglés nos han visitado. Sex Pistols, que yo sepa, ni en sus días de gloria, ni en sus reuniones lucrativas, pues nos ha tenido en cuenta. The Clash, esa maravilla, hubiera sido fabuloso, pero Joe Strummer, pues ya no está con nosotros. The Damp, creo que tampoco ha venido. Se me viene a la mente quizás Anti-Nowhere League en algún Rock al Parque hace poco más de 10 años. Quizás The Shark, que tocó por ahí en 2022 y lamentablemente me los perdí. Y The Addicts, que creo que estuvo en un par de altavoces y un par de shows en Bogotá. Pero no hemos tenido tantas bandas esenciales del punk británico. Y bueno, por ahí va a partir esta entrevista con Steve Diggle, preguntándole acerca de sus expectativas antes de este show en la capital.
Excited to go because when they put the Colombian date, and it's like you say, we've never been there before. And it's like, wow, we're going to Colombia, you know. We sometimes do, you know, we've done Brazil, Argentina a few times, but never Colombia. So we're as excited as the fans to come and have a good time. I mean, I'm sure they know the songs over the years, so it's going to be great to play them and to have the people come and watch us play those songs live, you know. We're
Nice.
very excited.
Okay, as you said, the band, the Buzzcocks, have already played in South America. I believe you played in Brazil and Argentina was 15 years ago. What memories do you have of the Latin crowds?
Oh, well, yes. The Latin crowds are amazing, you know. It's been a while since we played there. We're in the United States at the moment, but we're in a few days we're going there, of course. And so we're looking forward to come back because you had like COVID and stuff like that. Everything got put on hold for a long time. So it's great all that's cleared up and we're back. We're back doing the music that we should be doing, you know. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the Colombian fans, you know, and see them sing along with the songs and jump about and get involved. Because that's what's been happening every night after night on this American bit, from Austin, Texas, all the way up to Santa Cruz. We played last night. We've done many days. So the Colombian thing is new for us. It's, we're very excited, and I'm sure we have great fans there that have been waiting a long time to see us.
Great. I hope you will enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your records. 3 years ago, you released Sonics in the Soul,
Yeah.
your first record making all the vocal duties. That's a big challenge. Please tell me about how do you feel in that position and what reception do you have for the Buzzcocks fans?
Well, yes, obviously Pete died, and then it was during COVID I made that record. We had some dates to do. We actually made a single because I said, I don't want to just go out and play the greatest hits, even though we played many of them, all the hit singles and stuff. And I said, we want to keep it relevant, and looking forward. So we had a single called Gotta Get Better and Destination Zero on the B side. We put that out. Then it was COVID. So that's when I started to write Sonics in the Soul. And like I said, it was the first time without Pete because we used to share the writing and the singing and things. But I've been there from day one, the 50 years. I know how it all works. So apart from getting over the emotional thing of losing Pete, it was like we've got to carry on. And so I wrote the album, and I I took a lot of the classic sounds of the Buzzcocks, what you know from the Buzzcocks, but I tried to move on a little bit as well, because we always had different kinds of songs on each album, as well as the straight ahead ones that were kind of known for a lot. We always had interesting ones like Why Can't I Touch It and Autonomy, ones that are a little bit different. And so the Sonics in the Soul was like that. The great thing for me right now was I wrote a couple of songs, about two or three songs, and I thought, now we need another one to complement that one. And then I wrote another one to complement the other one. So I kind of wrote them in sequence. And that's the first time I've done that. Normally you kind of, you record 20 songs and just pick the songs and make an album. Whereas I made this album song by song. I was like, now we need a fast one, now we need a groove one. So I did it like that. Like when you read a book, you start at the beginning, you have to get to the end to have the whole experience. So I wanted Sonics in the Soul to be, you had to listen to the first song and have the whole experience to the end. And I think that's worked. And it's had many good reviews, and we've been doing many songs off it as long as alongside our other hits, so they should fit well in the set. So the fans know a lot of the songs like Ever Fallen in Love, Harmony in My Head, all the classics, Promises, What Do I Get? But also they go, wow, we love the Sonics in the Soul, and we're getting to hear those songs live as well. So we do quite a long set as well. When it's kind of an hour and a half, I think we did 2 hours the other day to cover a lot of our history, yeah.
That and a good balance, and it will be a historic set list. As you said, 7 years ago, unfortunately, the word of the music lost Mr. Pete Shelley. How was the big challenge for you to continue with the torch of the legacy of the band? Why do you decide to keep it on?
Well, like I said, I've been there from day one, and I've done it all my life. And we had some show. We had a Royal Albert Hall show booked in London, big famous Royal Albert Hall, legendary place. And we was going to play that as the Buzzcocks, and then Pete died. So the manager said, "Well, let's make it a tribute for Pete that day." So we had a couple of guests, made a big event, and dedicated to him. We also had some other shows booked, so it's like, let's do those as well then, and then just see what happens from there. But we did these other shows after that memorial show, and it's like the band was working, and the fans were saying, "Carry on, Steve," and all that. And the manager said to me, "We're still alive. Let's keep it moving."
Es importante mencionar que Buzzcocks no vive en el pasado, apegados a la nostalgia de sus primeros trabajos como Another Music, In a Different Kitchen o Love Bites, ambos lanzados en 1978, o incluso A Different Kind of Tension de 1979. Hace 3 años, esta agrupación publicó Sonics in the Soul, un disco que con 11 nuevas canciones mostró que le resta mucha creatividad. En esta conversación, el señor Steve Diggle nos da buenas nuevas, ya que tiene un nuevo trabajo preparado. Escuchémoslo.
I recorded another album. Still pushing forward. That's just before we started this tour 2 weeks ago. I was in the studio. We just about managed to mix it and sort it out in time. So there's another album in the pipeline for the future now. So a few people were surprised, going, "Wow, you know, you've only 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Sonic's in the Soul. Now there's another one." Because sometimes people take 5 years these days long, you know. But we used to put out a lot in the early days. I'm like, let's get back to that. Let's keep these albums flowing. We've got all the other stuff. Let's see what happens on the next album. So a lot of people are excited for that. And I'm glad I just finished it in time because we've got this, we'll be touring all year now, you know. So I don't know when the album's coming out, whether it might be the beginning of next year or maybe sooner. We've got to talk to record company.
Thank you for the news, and it's very good that you are keeping fresh with new ideas and continue with the band. Please, Mr. Steve, let's get back in time. You are a very important name in the rebellion. The punk rebellion started with the Buzzcocks. You are a defiant avant-garde sound market before and after. What memories do you have of the origins of the punk rock as social, aesthetic, and musical movement, please?
Yes, I mean, when we started, we was coming up to the age of 20. But when I was 17, I was writing songs for 3 years, and you're kind of thinking the music that was around at the time was like progressive music and orchestral and slow and all. And you're thinking, kind of young, you want something to, you know, something you can relate to with society, you know, especially when you're 20. So we was right at the forefront there. We brought the Sex Pistols to Manchester. We opened up for them, and we were straight on the map. You know, it was like you got the excitement of Sex Pistols, and all the people come to Manchester, all the newspapers to review the Sex Pistols, and they were blown away by this band of Buzzcocks. Because, like you say, we had different ideas, avant-garde ideas, weird noise things, all kinds of things, and the songs as well. You know, so we kind of defined a lot of it. You know, with the Clash and the Pistols and the Buzzcocks, that kind of defined what it came, because I think that those bands influenced a lot of people after, you know. That was the reference point, you know. Maybe the Clash, Pistols, and the Buzzcocks, you know. But we definitely, like you said, that individual thing about it, you know. We had a weird approach to it, you know, and a special sound. When we started, we didn't realize how definitive and how unique that sound was, you know. But our brief was to make the most uncommercial music as possible at first, you know, as a reaction against things.
Today, the music panorama, the music business has changed a lot. The big companies are not big companies anymore, and the independent spirit is stronger than ever. But it's important to say that in 1977 you released Spiral Crack, perhaps the first punk EP and also the first independent recording in the United Kingdom. Could you tell me more about that, please?
Yes, I mean, that was amazing because, like I say, we thought we was making what we recorded 4 songs by our scratch. We thought this is the most uncommon music. You know, nobody had heard that kind of thing at that time. You know, it sounded terrible but beautiful, you know. It sounded rough but good. And it sounded amazing. Nobody had heard that kind of sound at that in 76, 77. And we thought if we went to a record company, they'd laugh us out of the building. We can't put this kind of thing out, because it was all very smooth music at the time. So we kind of thought, if we get £500, we can make 1,000 singles. So it's seen as like a moment of genius, but also it was a moment of necessity. It was like, let's make 1,000 singles then. We had to borrow money off people and all that stuff. And just for our fans to put it out. But as soon as we made that record, that changed things. It got reviewed in the papers going, Spiral Scratch, this is amazing. It like say it was new. And they've done it on their own label. We got together to do a group to do what we were doing. We didn't know we'd inspire people to make their own records then, because that was new. Nobody really thought of it at that time. And it's hard to know why we thought of it. Like I say, in one way, it was like, well, let's make our own, Seems so simple now, because everybody thinks, I've got to get a record deal, and at the time, And that that pulled the carpet from under the big record company's feet, because it's like, this band of Buzzcocks, they're playing to crowds up down the country. They've got their own single out. They don't need us, what's going on. So a lot of big companies had to sign people at the time that they didn't know who they were or what they were doing, But that was very inspirational to people, because many people, like saying, going, the Buzzcocks have put a single out on their own. Let's get some money and put ours out, and then many do now, yeah.
Great, great.
It's amazing looking back that's true, because we didn't, it was hard to plan that. It was just, well, let's do that. And if we won't get a record deal. As soon as we put it out, we got offered 6 record deals. The irony,
Buzzcocks tiene su origen en la ciudad de Manchester, es decir, al norte de Inglaterra, un territorio que ha sido muy rico para la música en diferentes estilos, desde el rock and roll clásico hasta la música bailable. Nombres como los de Oasis, The Verve, The Smiths e incluso los Bee Gees tienen su origen en esa ciudad mágica que se condensa todo ese movimiento muy gratamente en una película que les recomiendo bastante, como lo es 24 Hour Party People, que cuenta también mucho acerca de lo que fue el suceso de la agrupación Joy Division. Pues bien, imposible no preguntarle a Steve Diggle acerca de qué hay de especial en Manchester, qué tanto del ambiente influenció la música de su banda Buzzcocks.
There's some of that, yeah, because Manchester's big, but it's not as big as London, so kind of less distractions. So, and there was tough times, so you kind of go into yourself a bit. It's like if you're lying in a room looking at a light bulb, you start thinking things, creative and stuff. So I think there was that about Manchester. Some people think something in the water might be magical, but there was a vibe around the city, and we kind of kicked it off by bringing the Pistols and opening up and they're going, we've got a Manchester band, the Buzzcocks. Now, you never thought after that they'd be like, Joy Division, Stone Roses, Oasis. I mean, it's just been amazing that's been this long line, We was like the first to kick it off, and then many of those bands would come to our gigs, form their own bands, But you're right, we've had so many great bands from Manchester. It's still a bit of a mystery, but I think there's something about the environment and there was the electricity at the time in the city, And if you get that going, then it kind of, people feed off it, get affected by it, and then I'll start a band, and all that kind of stuff, These things only happen now and again, maybe every 10 years or whatever. But that was a magical thing that happened in Manchester, Well, there are other towns. When we first started touring, we'd go to a town and be a rundown nightclub from the 70s, and they'd let, it turn into a punk club. And all the fans we used to visit in these towns, they go, nothing was happening till this punk rock thing, you know. So they all kind of came alive in each town, like Liverpool, Glasgow, Scotland, or Sheffield. They all started making their own scenes. Like Sheffield's got its scene, Liverpool had a scene, Glasgow, and it all come from because of the Manchester thing. Because it was like before that, it was just about London, you know, and it's like look, Manchester's kind of happening. So that inspired a lot of things that way, you know. But I think the most bands I say have come from Manchester. You know. It's still a mystery. It's phenomenal, you know. So
Great.
from 1976, 77, when we started, you know, each year there's been a new band, you know, for years, you know. So
Yeah.
it's part of that community and the art and the thinking. I think there was a lot of things going around. The youth were excited in those days, you know, looking at art, pictures, talking about their lives, you know, the bad things, the bad, you know, trying to figure out things. And all that kind of got mixed in to what became the music, you know. And that's what was important about the music. Like with the Buzzcocks, we were singing things about our lives and people's lives, which was kind of new at the time, you know. Normally songs were singing about mushrooms in the sky or some love, simple, sickly love thing that didn't mean it, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing you could relate to, but we had lyrics like were real and stuff, you know.
Yeah, and for in the other hand, the sound of the Buzzcocks, because
Yeah.
I believe in the 80s the punk started to making some more harsh, more caustic, more aggressive, but you balance the melodies. You are very pop in the good terms. For example, I believe bands like Green Day or even Blink-182 take a lot of your essence.
Yeah.
How do you start to think in those terms when you start to making music?
Well, when we first had the first rehearsal, you could kind of tell the dynamics of the band worked, you know. We didn't really have to work at it. You know, we had first we had Howard and then he left it. So there was me, Pete, and then Steve Galvey on the bass, Sean Moore on the drums, the original lineup. And it just connected right away, you know, to start. It was like you didn't have to sit down and explain things. So Pete and myself would write the songs, and if he had a song, I'd go, I've got a little tune riff, because the riffs are like separate tunes in the song sometimes. And you know, if I had a song, he'll put something on mine. But we showed it to the band, not on the riff. Next minute, there was a song there, you know. It like goes like this, and everybody. So we had a great band with a great dynamics, with the right people in it, just by chance, you know. But also, like you say, we like the tunes, but we also like the noise as well. So we managed to blend like noise sometimes in a pop tune, you know, some discordant bits, some weird bits sometimes, you know, not just you know, some other bits. Because we like the noise as well, yeah. We like experimental music. We like the German music, like Can, Neu and stuff. They were doing experimental stuff.
Debo confesarles que soy un gran fanático de Nirvana y en 1994 el grupo eligió a Buzzcocks como su telonero durante lo que sería el periplo por Europa defendiendo su último álbum de estudio, In Utero. Lamentablemente, luego de una serie de presentaciones, Kurt Cobain entraría en estado de coma en la ciudad de Roma, la gira se detuvo. Más adelante vendría su triste desaparición. Acerca de las memorias que tiene Steve Diggle de haber tocado con Nirvana, finaliza esta charla.
Memories. They came to when Teen Spirit was number one and the album Nevermind was number one. They came to we was playing in Boston and they came to see us there. So we didn't know they was there. So I'm on the stage and we're playing and we had an album called Trade Test Transmission, which is a transmission card the television used in Britain. So we had a lot of televisions on the stage. And each night I used to smash them, you know, 6 televisions behind me, bang, 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 every night, all around Britain, all around Europe, all around America. So I did this that night in Boston. I smashed the 6 televisions. And I stepped off the stage, and the tour manager said, Nirvana here to see you. I was like, what? And next minute, Kurt came up to me and he said, I love the way you smashed those televisions, man. That was his first thing. And I said, there's an art to this, Kurt. I nearly got electrocuted somewhere. I did it once. I said, you got to throw it at the screen, let the mic stand go, let it hit the screen, implode, and you get all the smoke as well. So if you just hit it wrong, it just breaks the glass and I told you, really? And he said, I've only smashed one TV. I said, I've smashed thousands, man. I'll show you how to do it. So that was our first conversation with him. He loved the TVs. I never, Dave Grohl was there. So they wanted us to join them for some shows, and we said, look, we've got 2 months in America. When you come to Europe, give us a call. So they did. And so we did that last tour with them. And we had a great time. They was in our dressing room every day, and we was in theirs. And I used to be walking around them stadiums with Kurt, and I was on the bus with him. And so sometimes we'd do a little bit of things together, And he loved harmony in my head as well. He goes, he played, it's just me and him sat on the bus, and he said, the vocal sounds great on that. I said, Kurt, I had to smoke about 20 cigarettes. The producer wanted me to sing that. I said, I'm singing the chorus, harmony, all that. But I said, I want to shout the thing like Little Richard or something, And he loved that, because that vocal's a bit similar to his in terms of that rough guttural, So I could see why he liked that for that. So there's great vocal sound on that. And I said, we're bit similar voices on that one, with Nirvana, So we go on well with the whole of Nirvana, Dave and Pat Smear and Chris Novoselic. So we did that tour the last, I think we did about 12 dates. And that's when I think he took a lot of tablets initially. We left them in Paris. They had a TV show with him. And then I just heard it, took a load of tablets or something, flown back to America. And then within days, he shot himself. I couldn't believe it, I hadn't even got home yet, and I saw it on the news everywhere. It was on the television, everything. And I thought it was surreal because I thought I was with him about 2 days ago. And now he's on the telly and he's dead. And, it was hard to process with it. So I hadn't even got home to my house. I'm like, I've not got home from that tour. Now they're saying he's dead. But he was an amazing guy, and he loved the Buzzcocks and he loved punk. And they all were, Dave Grohl, Pat and Chris. So there was a little bond on that tour, very important. And the Buzzcocks were amazing, and they was amazing on that tour. Looking back, must have been a good gig. Buzzcocks and Nirvana on the same bill,
Wonderful.
They'd watch us every night, and then we'd watch them, So it was a pleasure to have known him, and if I'd have known, I would have said, don't fucking shoot yourself, like we always said. He asked me how we survived, and I said, sometimes you've got to have a sense of humor looking at things. Can't take everything too hard, And maybe it was at that time, but you can never tell with people if they're going to plan suicide or anything. You never know they're going to do it, They kind of keep it well hidden. But it was all right in that tour, and looking back, it's quite amazing that spent really the last couple of weeks with him,
Yeah.
One of the last people.
Okay.
I think I've got a bit of video somewhere that somebody took in the dressing room where we're probably the last people with him before he went back to America, which, you can't plan that kind of thing. Well, God bless him, he was great, and he loved the Buzzcocks, and we love Nirvana.
Muy triste. Bueno, Buzzcocks, como les digo, este 20 de mayo aquí en Bogotá vamos a poder escuchar canciones favoritas del punk rock, como lo son Why Can't I Touch It, Ever Falling in Love y I Don't Mind, entre otras. Va a ser toda una fiesta. En los comentarios me gustaría que habláramos de Buzzcocks, también de bandas británicas que nos enamoraron de esta música veloz, contagiosa y llena de actitud. Mi nombre es Alejandro Bonilla, quiero invitarlos a que me sigan en mis diferentes redes sociales, nuevamente a que se suscriban al canal de Alejandrosis, donde tenemos constantemente entrevistas con los artistas que nos visitan en Colombia. Muy pronto nos volvemos a encontrar aquí para hablar de la música que más nos gusta. Hasta pronto.